This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat far. We keeping the foot on the whoop. Oh, eeks. We keeping the foot on the whoop. Oh, eeks. And like the Tibetan Mastiff that I am, man. Like the Siberian tiger that I am, I'm applying whoop on immediate pressure. Because pressure does what? Heat versus pipes. Let's talk about it, man. Alright. Here we go again with Knothead, aka Bullethead. Hello, Bullethead. Hello, Knothead. We're gonna talk to your ass about being a knothead, aka Bullethead. Here's the thing with being a bullethead. That means there is no corpus callosum in your cerebellum. That means there is no medulla oblongata that's clicking on all neuron receptors. And the reason for that is because Timothy Bradley has a disdain for Errol the True Spence. Timothy Bradley has a pure hatred for Errol the True Spence. Timothy Bradley cannot stand the identity of Errol the True Spence. Because you guys have to understand where this hate comes from. It's from a deep-rooted, a deep-seated hate, a deep-seated and a deep-rooted disdain for the fact that Errol the True Spence retired him mentally. When someone retires you mentally, they can't get away from that. Physical retirement is something different because physical retirement comes and goes. It's like dying. It comes and it goes. But a mental retirement is basically spiritual in a sense because you can't undo it out of your mind. You can't undo it out of your corpus callosum. You can't undo it out of your cerebellum. You can't undo it out of your medulla oblongata. What can you not undo? The fact that Timothy Bradley was a WBC mandatory. Errol the True Spence was an up and rising superstar. Timothy Bradley had Teddy Atlas that was training him. But he still lacked the identity of a man that had the confidence, the abundance mindset, the alpha male lineage to step into the ring with Mr. Tactical Aggression, Mr. Technical Punch and Placement, and Mr. Body Snatching Work, the living onslaught, the punishment style, because he understood in his identity that he is a guy that's missing the prerequisites. He's missing the fiber of the genetics. He's missing the it factor to step into a ring with a ruin you artist, a ruin you style fighter that can cause damage, that can wreak havoc like nobody's business. When we look at the identity of Timothy Bradley, we see a Bullethead. When we look at the identity of a Timothy Bradley, we see a knothead. When it's all said and done, Timothy Bradley is like Bane talked about in Batman. Bane, when he basically encountered Batman, you guys have to understand why Dark Knight Rises is such a masterful masterpiece, dog. It's a class act. Because Bane, Butler Alfred tried to warn Batman, i.e. Bruce Wayne. He said the veracity of Bane, the skills, the movement, the way that he's so fluid. I see the Leagues of Shadow renewed. And a man that was excommunicated by Ra's al Ghul is one to not be trifled with. And Batman wasn't thinking like Batman. He was thinking like Bruce Wayne. Well, I didn't know that I was one to be trifled with too. See, he had to basically match his savagery. He had to basically match his veracity with Bane. And this is where Batman fucked up. Batman went into the fight with an L. Batman went into the fight as a loser because he said, when I go up against him, I'm going to match all of that. When you are the dominating factor, you don't have to match. You're supposed to supersede. Whatever that person brings, you're supposed to raise it up to. The reason why Batman was able to supersede his ass the second time around is because Batman did decline. You guys have to understand, in their fight, Bane told him an emphatic truth in the beginning. He said, I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body. But before he said that, which was the finishing blow, he said something emphatic to not Batman. He talked to him as Bruce Wayne. See, this is how he unmasked him, because he knows, Bane knows that he can't go toe-to-toe with Batman, but he knows he can go toe-to-toe with Bruce Wayne. Notice when he said in the beginning, he said, aren't we Bruce Wayne, members of the Leagues of Shadows? But you have betrayed us. He didn't identify him as Batman. He identified him as Bruce Wayne. He personalized the situation. made him vulnerable because he understood that Bruce Wayne is the vulnerable one. He's the one that lost the dad. Batman, there's nothing vulnerable about Batman. Batman is as alpha as you can fucking be. Batman has done up Superman so many times. But Bane also knew this wasn't Batman in his prime. You guys have to understand, in The Dark Knight, Batman was able to jump from all the way to the top to hit a car and dent that motherfucker in. If Bane fought that Batman, Bane would have been fucked. But that Batman was scarred up by the Joker. That Batman was fucked. You're gonna see how all of this contextualizes. And what did Bane tell Batman? You fight like a younger man with nothing held back. Admirable, but mistaken. He's right. Because when you fight like a younger man with nothing held back, it is an admirable gesture. But it's mistaken because you do not have the proper mechanics going into a fight that is a fight of veracity. Veracity doesn't require you to fight like a younger man with nothing held back. It requires you to fight like a grown man that knows how to control and hold back. Because if you remember when Batman was in the cave, he was told the guy, same thing Bane told him, death does not fear you. Because when death does not fear you and you don't have fear, you don't have that extra it factor to motivate you. You don't have that extra fear element to basically ingratiate a level of veracity for you to perform at the next level. But when you're fearful of something, you get goosebumps. It's just like when you got to speak in front of people. If you're not used to it, he knows everything is used to this at the highest levels. But there was a time he knows everything wasn't used to it. Even though he had the gift of gab, he used to sweat a lot. He used to have goosebumps. But the fear factor of knowing that, it made he knows everything rise above the action. This is what Bane was talking about. The reason why Batman was able to say, where's the trigger? Where's the trigger? And he was able to nullify Bane. And Bane was like, I broke you. Impossible. But he was able to because he made the climb. And he made the climb without a rope because he made it with fear. But he did not give up. It was unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It bursts his pipes. The reason why Timothy Bradley hates Errol the True Spence and how it contextualizes is because it goes back to that Bane versus Bruce Wayne ideology. And the ideology is as simple as this. That with Errol the True Spence, when he was coming up to be the WBC mandatory, he basically made a proclamation without verbally making it. You fight like a younger man with nothing held back. Admirable, but mistaken. That's what he did to Timothy Bradley. And Timothy Bradley, because he was in Bullethead and Knotterhead fashion, because of the fact that he got concussed by Ruslan Provodnikov, he was basically hospitalized for 12 fucking months. He knew that Mr. Tactical Aggression, Mr. Technical Punching Placement, and Mr. Body Snatching Work, the Leviathan style, the Punishment style, would basically do one of these. I was wondering what would break first, your spirit or your body? And he didn't want no parts of that because he knew he would not have a Batman rising of the Phoenix moment to basically come back the second time and nullify and say, where's the trigger? Where's the trigger? He basically was going to get properly retired. This is where all of the hate and the disdain comes from Timothy Bradley. Because Timothy Bradley's identity is one of a beta cuck male. One of a pure beta supreme. One of what we call a guy who lacks the it factor. So he has to hate on the guy that has the it factor. And he's hating on the identity that he could not do to Manny Pacquiao what Errol the True Spence is going to properly do to Manny Pacquiao. You guys want to know what the silver lining is? You guys want to see how everything contextualizes? Because when it's all said and done, what is the title of the series? Errol the True Spence is going to properly retire Manny Pacquiao via AARP retirement, Pac-Man style, come August 21st. There are no two ways around that bad boy. And book it. Timothy Bradley knows this because he could see that Errol the True Spence's punishment style is flawless. When you fight Errol the True Spence in the ring, he is the punisher. He's the judge, the jury, and the executioner, and he decides your fate. Hence, look at Mr. Morales, a guy that fought Manny Pacquiao, and he said out of his own mouth that Manny Pacquiao's in for a shitstorm. We're going to talk about that in the next installment. That Manny Pacquiao's biting up the wrong tree. And like Jay-Z said, if you bark up the wrong tree, the tree will fall on you. It is a tree of tactical aggression. It is a tree of technical punching placement. And it is a tree of body snatching work, the levy on solve the punishment style. When it's all said and done, the identity of Errol Spence is one that Manny Pacquiao is going to have to deal in an AARP retirement Pac-Man style. Manny Pacquiao is getting properly retired. And the fact that Timothy Bradley knows this in knothead and aka bullethead fashion, Timothy Bradley doesn't know how to wrap his brain around it. And because he doesn't know how to wrap his brain around it, he does what a beta male does. He fucking hates and he trolls. That's the cool part. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat tell of fashion. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Eeks. I keeps the foot on the whoop. Eeks. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.